Hello everyone. In this tutorial I am going to teach you about classes and objects and the four pillars of object-oriented programming. So as you know that in object-oriented programming everything is associated with classes and objects. So I have also shown you an example here. I have created a class named as book. So basically class is nothing but a logical entity. So this logical entity can have fields, methods, constructor, block, interface, etc. So here I have just in this class I have a constructor and I have a method main. So this is basically the syntax of a class that we write the return type, the access modifier, then the class keyword, then followed by the class name and the curly braces. Okay, now let's come to objects. So object is an instance of class. What is an instance of class? For example, here I have created 3 instances of book. Okay, so this is an instance of class book. So object is basically a logical as well as a physical entity. Now it is a physical entity because it has a physical address by which the JVM identifies the object. So object consists of 3 things, that is the state, behavior and identity. So state means the data that it contains. The behavior means the functionality of that object, and identity means the unique ID that is through which the JVM identifies that object. Okay, so for example, let's take for example, like I've created a book class here. So if I create a object of this book class, then what will be the state and behavior of this object? So the size, color, author, all this will come under state, and reading will come under functionality or the behavior. Okay, so now there are 3 ways in which we can create an object in a class. As you can see, I have shown you all the 3 ways. Okay, so 3 ways are: first is the new keyword that we use to create an object. So you just have to write the class name, whatever object name you want to give, then the new keyword followed by the class name, and like I have created here a constructor with the name, string name. Okay, so I will have to provide a name here for the book that I want to create. So I've provided Ramayana. You can simply put braces as well, so you can create an object like that also. This object will be created and it will contain a string named as Ramayana. Okay, now the second method is the clone method. Okay, now in clone method, we just, if we have already created an object of that class, then we just have to call the clone method, and we will have to typecast this into the class that we want to clone, like the book. Okay, now the third method is using the new instance method. So for that you will have to call the for name method under class, class. Okay, so this is a class, basically it's class named as class. Okay, so in that we have a for name method in which we'll have to provide the name of the like the string that we want to pass, and then we can create dot new instance. So this, in this also an object will be created with the string book. Okay, because we have passed book here. So these are the 3 ways in which we you can create an object in a class: new keyword, clone method and new instance method. Now let's come to the 4 pillars of object-oriented programming that we have. So the 4 pillars are abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance and polymorphism. So let's start with inheritance. Now what is inheritance? Basically one class acquires the property of another class. Okay, so basically we in this we implement a concept of reusability. So from the superclass, the properties of superclass can be accessed by the subclass. So basically it is a relationship, or you can say a parent-child relationship. Okay, and to implement interface we use extends keyword. Okay, so this is the syntax. We have to write the subclass name, extends, the superclass name, and you can have the methods and fields. Okay, now the next is Yeah, and so the next is encapsulation. So in encapsulation, basically we bind the methods and data together into a single unit. So even a class is an example of encapsulation because it binds the properties as well as methods together. So encapsulation is basically used because it acts as a protective shield that prevents the data from being accessed by the outside world. Okay, so it is used to achieve data hiding as well as abstraction, because if you declare something private within a class, then other class won't be able to access it, and because you have declared it private, so its implementation details also will be hidden from the end user. Okay, now next is abstraction. So abstraction is just displaying the essential information and hiding the implementation details. Okay, so basically it is used to reduce the complexity, and it can be achieved in two ways. As you can see, I have provided here two examples. So one is this, that can be achieved with the help of abstract class, and the other is with interfaces. So abstract class is nothing but a class that contains one or more abstract methods. Okay, now abstract method is one which doesn't have a body. So class that doesn't have a body is an abstract method. Okay, now as if you can see here, I have written void display. Okay, so this is an abstract method. I have not provided any body here. Okay, so if a class will contain one or more abstract classes, it is known abstract methods, it is known as abstract class. Now if a class I have created the abstract class, and if another class extends this class, then that class will also be declared as an abstract class. If we don't want to declare that class as an abstract class, the class here class A is an abstract class and class B is extending class A. Okay, so I will have to declare class B as abstract class. If I don't want to declare class B as abstract class, then I will have to override the abstract methods present in class A in class B. Okay, I hope it's clear. Then interface, next method is interface. So in interface, basically it is a reference type in Java. So in interface also, all methods that we declare are abstract by default, as I have shown you a display. Okay, and to implement this interface, we use implements keyword. Okay, so the syntax is simple. We'll have to write class name, implements keyword, and the interface name that we want to implement. Okay, so this was interface, and next is polymorphism. Now in polymorphism, as you can see, I mentioned 3 points. So there are 3 conditions that needs to be satisfied if you want to achieve polymorphism. So that is, an object can exist in many forms, all forms must reside within a single unit, and which form get executed depends on the input. So now I'll show you with an example how it works. Okay, but basically a class is, you can consider a class as an example. Okay, because in a class we can create objects that are in many forms, and it is residing within a single unit, that is a class, and which form gets executed depends on the input. So I'll show you explain you this with the following example. Now there are 2 types of polymorphism, that is compile time and runtime. So compile time is also known as static binding or method overloading, and runtime is known as dynamic binding or method overriding. So method overloading is basically when multiple methods with same name but different signature are present in a single class. So here different signature means either there are different number of parameters or different type of parameters, or the sequence of parameters is different. Okay, and method overriding is basically redefining the method of superclass and subclass. Okay, now these are the basic definitions of 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. Now I have an example here, so I'll explain all 4 in this example. So let's come to abstraction. As I told you, abstraction can be achieved in 2 ways, abstract class and interface. So here you can see I have created an abstract class, that is transport. I have abstract method, that is display. Okay, now this vehicle class is implementing this abstract class, extending this abstract class, that is I have inherited this class, and I am overriding that display method. So I don't have to write here I don't have to declare vehicle as abstract. Okay, now the second way was interface. So I have created an interface here named as model, which has a abstract method named as display. Now again vehicle class is implementing this interface. Okay, so I'm defining this display method here. Okay, so this is how you can achieve abstraction. Next was encapsulation. So as you can see, I have you can see any class, like let's take vehicle only. So we have a vehicle class, we have a property name, we have a method display. So I am binding these property and methods within this class. So it is an example of encapsulation. Now inheritance. So as you can see, vehicle is extending transport class. So transport will be a base class, vehicle is a child class. Here I am extending vehicle. So vehicle is a parent class and car is a child class here. Okay, and so in polymorphism I told you there are two ways, right? So method overriding is redefining the methods of base class and derived class. So I have in vehicle, like I have display method. In car I am overriding that display method. So if I redefine that same method, then it is known as method overriding. So you can achieve this with the help of this. And the second way to achieve is method overloading. So to explain method overloading, here is the example. So if you see, I have a single class, okay, and I have two display methods here, one with one parameter and one with two parameters. Okay, so all forms residing in a single unit car. Okay, and now if I create an object of car, then and if I pass a single string, okay, then this method will be called. If I pass two strings, then this method will be called. So the execution depends on the input, and object can exist in many forms. Okay, so object will depend basically on this. So if I can create two types of objects for class car, one with a single string, one with one single parameter, and one with two parameters. So in this way you can achieve polymorphism using method overloading as well. Okay, so this was all about objects and classes and the 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. I hope you find this video useful and you are able to understand all these pillars of object-oriented programming. Thank you so much.